Welcome to Venice in Italy. It's better not to look down. Super. Dankjewel. Well, that's a long time ago, but here we go again.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Milan flight to Venice.
After months of lockdowns and border closures in Europe, the skies have partly reopened, and I find myself in an airplane again. Believe me, this was not an easy decision. Like most people around the world, I take COVID-19 very seriously. Staying at home, social distancing, extra hygiene, face masks in required places, and in general living a more careful life. Thanks to a collective effort of many amazing people, the situation in Europe improved in the last months, reaching a point where life seemed to return to some form of adjusted normal. Restaurants and schools reopened, the empty streets became busier again, and many countries welcomed tourists back to their lands. To me, it seemed like the right time to travel again.
Welcome to Venice in Italy. First trip during this pandemic. Very interesting. Italy is obviously one of the hardest hit countries in Europe. Is opening up now to tourists. So let's have a look around.
Venice has a unique atmosphere, with a rich history and beautiful architecture. The narrow alleys and canals breathe character, and walking the quiet streets in the early morning felt like being thrown back in time. With its immense visual attraction, Venice has become one of the top tourist destinations in Italy in the last decades, for good and bad. The local economy flourished, but many residents and also visitors felt increasing pressure on the city. All that changed, of course, due to the coronavirus outbreak. Now, after lockdown, a trickle of visitors are returning to San Marco Square, perhaps the epicenter of the city's tourist industry. This is where some of Venice's iconic buildings are located, including the Basilica and Campanile. You can spend hours here admiring the architecture and sipping an Italian coffee or two. A lot of extra measures have been put in place at the entrances of tourist attractions, like temperature control checks and hand sanitizing points. Face masks are mandatory in most indoor places like museums, stores and banks. Also on public transport where social distancing is difficult, face masks are compulsory. This is most visible on the ferries crossing the city, and a stark reminder of the reality we live in today. It felt good, however, to walk the streets of Venice and see people going about their daily lives again. For me, it was time to travel to the next destination, cautiously, but with confidence.
After quite some driving from Venice to the north, I finally ended up in the Dolomite mountains, as you can see behind me.
The Dolomites combine a total of 9 mountain groups and offer some of the most dramatic and diverse alpine scenery in the world. There are endless corners to be discovered, and you can spend weeks, if not months, exploring the region.
So this is a one-person ski lift or cable car or chairlift, whatever you want to call it. It's a little cabin. It's cozy almost, but also a little bit scary, to be honest. It's going all the way up to the Sassalungo mountain.
Not far from these spectacular peaks is Seceda, arguably the most popular mountain to visit in the region. Its cragged cliffs contrast beautifully with the lush green summer pastures on the other side of the mountain. Seceda is accessible by cable car, and there are various stunning hikes around the area.
Walking to the breakfast room. Everything is just a little bit different these days. Okay, so this is how breakfast works in some of the hotels here in the Dolomites. Protective screens, staff is wearing masks, I have to wear a mask as well. And I can order the food instead of a buffet.
Yeah, I mean, it's the new way of working now with all the situation going on. So let's see. It's gonna be different for everyone, but it's gonna be fine, I'm sure.
While less of a concern than in urban areas, there are constant reminders of the pandemic along the way. Gladly, extra precautions are put in place virtually everywhere to minimize risk of infection.
Definitely not an easy walk up to Lake Sorapis, I think is the name. Some part it's better not to look down.
Lake Sorapis is a glacial lake located at 1,900 meters above sea level and can be reached through a number of pathways, some of them quite challenging. The water in the lake gets its blue turquoise color from material deposited by the adjacent glacier.
This is the chairlift up to Cinque Torri. The weather forecast is pretty bad. Rain for most part of the day, like really thunderstorms. But let's give it a go. Maybe I can catch a glimpse of these mountains. There's a lot of pathways along this mountain range, Cinque Torri. Some people are even climbing up there. When you walk around this area, you will notice a lot of restored bunkers. It's from the First World War, when the Italians were fighting the Austro-Hungarian troops. This was a very strategic point. They even rebuilt some of the infamous trenches here. Couldn't imagine how it must have felt like in those times.
After a bit of history and hiking, the rain did set in, giving me the perfect excuse to order some lunch.
Gladly the sun came out, so I can sit outside. It's still Corona time, unfortunately. This restaurant seems very nice, but also quite busy. Polenta with fresh egg, mushrooms and salad. Italian food. Amazing.
The variation in landscapes in the Dolomites is almost limitless, and I visited some other spectacular areas, including the Trecime and Lago di Brai, which I will give some more attention in a separate video.
Welcome to the city of Milan, the final destination of this short trip during the pandemic. As you can see, face masks are required here in Lombardy, the hardest hit region in Italy. Also outside officially. Life is slowly coming back to some kind of adjusted normal here after the lockdown and the quarantine here in Italy, which was quite severe. It's a beautiful city.
Due to the limited time left, I focused on only a few sites in the city center of Milan.
This is the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele, another iconic landmark here in the center of Milan. The architecture is absolutely stunning.
The Galleria is the oldest shopping mall in Italy and often nicknamed as the drawing room of Milan, due to its abundance of designer clothing brands.
If you ever wondered where the nickname fashion capital of the world came from, this is probably your answer right here.
Apart from the face masks and warning signs, I witnessed an event that made me contemplate what happened in this region not so long ago.
Un appello, Presidente De Paolo, colleghi consiglieri regionali.
Emotional healthcare workers gathered in the very center of Milan to rally for better working conditions. The demonstration left a strong impression, especially the 1-minute silence that was held to commemorate coronavirus victims.
Probably one of the most beautiful places in Milan, at least in terms of architecture, is the Duomo, the main cathedral here in the center of the city. Some of the details are just unbelievable.
The cathedral took nearly 6 centuries to complete and was only finished in 1965. It is the largest church in Italy and gladly open to visit again.
You can actually walk on the roof of the cathedral. It's quite unique.
With these images of the contrasting skyline of Milan, I conclude this short journey to Italy, grateful for the chance to explore again. But also realistic that global travel restrictions are likely here to stay, at least for the moment.